Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janina Sarrell, and I'm here to present our project that's leveraging large language models for detecting citation quotation errors in biomedical literature. So what exactly are citation quotation errors? Some of you might not have heard this before. So these are when you have a citing statement and it contains inconsistent information with the reference it is being sourced from. For instance, we have this example. Here we have a reference article on your left, and it says here that ACE2 or human ACE2 was expressed most abundantly in the colon. Well, this statement was cited by another paper, and this paper says that human ACE2 expression were not observed in the gut of the mice. Well, I'm not a biomedical person, I'm a computer scientist, but I do know that the colon is part of the gut. So that means that this statement is contradicting. And this is actually a real example from the literature. So how big is this problem? Well, a recent paper, and I just met the author of this paper today, actually, says that 1 in 6 citations in medical journals are inaccurate. So, and about every 12 to 13th quotation is entirely unsupported. So that makes it even worse. So half of these inaccurate citations are major errors. They're not supported by the reference publication. And this is a study done on 46 papers containing 32,000 citation quotations. And this is a big issue because we all know that citations are used for information propagation. So now we want to prevent this misinformation. And also, I believe that these citation accuracy is overlooked in peer review. How many of us actually do check the citations and check the reference papers when we're doing peer review? Well, I see some hands, so some of you do, but unfortunately, I'm gonna say I don't. I already have too much trouble like reviewing a paper. I can't review like 30 or so or even more citations. And we all there are no systems that can do this right now. So we all do this. If we're doing it, we're doing it manually. So what would be good is that if we could find something that could automate this process, something that can like help us do it. And that's a goal of that's our goal is to like help create this system that can help that can automate the detection of citation quotation errors. And we want, aside from that, we have two long-term goals. One that looks into the past. We want to see how much of this issue is actually in the literature right now. So we want to do a large-scale assessment of citation quotation errors in the current published literature. And we want to look into the future. We want to develop user-friendly tools for citation verification so we can prevent these issues from entering the literature in the first place. Sorry. Okay, so to do this, hopefully we've all heard of large language models. If not, if you have heard of ChatGPT or used ChatGPT, well, you have used a large language model. So these LLMs are widely accessible, and they may have a negative connotation in peer review because maybe it's making our life harder since a lot of content may like that is being sent is could be AI written, like these submissions. But hopefully like, we can like turn these large language models into like helping us to do something positive, and that is detecting citation quotation errors. And so large language models, they're adaptable to a variety of tasks. And as a computer scientist, when you want to develop a system, let's say something that citation accuracy verification tool, you have to do multiple things. You have to collect data for your system. You have to train your model to build your system, and you have to evaluate your system. So those steps are not like are very hard to do, and it take a long time. But with large language models, maybe we can skip the first 1 or 2 steps and go straight to evaluation, or we can use a large language model directly. So that will speed up the development process. So in this study, where we asked now, can we use large language models to detect citation quotation errors? And if we can, like how do we use it best? So when you use a large language model, you kind of like you give it a prompt, whether it's a question a command, or you're asking it to make a decision for you. And in this case, we're asking it to make a decision on whether it thinks like a citing statement is erroneous or not, based on some information that we give it. Now, what information should we give it? Should we give it only some relevant sentences from the reference article, or can we even give it the entire reference article? Like, let's say, let's paste the citing statement and paste the entire reference article to ChatGPT. Well, is that good enough? Will that work? So we evaluated these two approaches, and we evaluated them on 606 citing statements from a data set that we developed, and 220 of these citing statements are citation quotation errors. And what we have found is that when we only use the relevant sentences, then we actually get better results. And that is when using Gemini 1.5 Pro. So we get around 69% accuracy and 51% sensitivity. So that means we are able to detect half of these errors. Whereas if we use the entire reference article, then we only get 1/4, a quarter of these errors using the same Gemini Pro. And when we tested it with the GPT-4o, with the entire reference article, now it kind of like flip-flops. The accuracy is 50%. So it's kind of like it makes a random decision whether it's accurate or not accurate. However, it does get 2/3 of the errors. So like these two LLMs are paid. So if you want to use it, you have to pay for each token. But there are also LLMs that are free, such as like Llama. And we also tested Llama 3.1. And what we found is that it doesn't give us, it gives us poor results. In the case of anti-reference articles, it doesn't even give us, it gives us like gibberish, basically. So now with that, we are also moving on to like our next step of our long-term goal, which is large-scale assessment of citation quotation errors. We are trying to assess the citation quotations in about 600,000 reference articles, and these reference articles are cited by 730,000 citing articles. We took the citing statements from an openly available data set called OpCitants. And so between these reference and citing articles, there are 1.7 million pairs, and there are 3.1 citing statements. So far, we've only gotten through 100,000 of these citing statements. And what we've found is that 34% of the citing statements were assessed as erroneous. So it's about 1 in 3 citing statements are errors. And 35% of citing articles were found to contain citation quotation errors. And lastly, 41%, or about 2 in 5 reference articles, were cited incorrectly at least once. So in the future, we plan to continue refining our methods to improve the performance, like improve the accuracy and recall of our methods, and also to complete the assessment of the PubMed Central open access articles. And even in the long term, we also plan to create a user-friendly tool for citation verification. So hopefully we are able to integrate these tools into editorial workflows such as peer review, and also make it available to authors, readers, and everyone who uses citations. So in conclusion, citation quotation detection is challenging. It's very challenging to do manually. It's very tedious, but it's even more challenging to do automatically, because you get a lot of it's not like the methods are not accurate right now. LLMs struggle with detecting citation quotation errors in a single step. So the idea of copy pasting the citing statement and the reference article to your LLM to ChatGPT, it probably won't give you good results right now. And lastly, we welcome any feedback and questions you have for our project. Thank you.
Can have some questions starting from here.
Markus Grivars, Helsinki, Finland. Thank you. Very interesting. I mean, many journals are behind paywalls. So how could a model that works in the internet even access the full text, which you probably would need in order to be sure, unless it's something that's in the abstract. But a lot of the things are not in the abstract, they're in the full text. So how could it work without having access to the actual paper?
That is a very good question, and I think that is a problem right now, which is a lot of data isn't openly available. We right now we're more focused on like improving our methods, and I do think like when we get to developing these tools, that those are problems we need to tackle because as our current assessment is only we're only looking at everything from the PubMed Central open access because as those are openly available. But yes, that is a problem that we will have to deal with in the future.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. That's very exciting. And thank you also, Christopher Bethke, German Medical Association. So thank you. Also, thank you for citing my work entirely correctly. So that's a start. I was wondering how you operationalize the claim. Often I find that having done those studies by hand, I'm looking forward to your tool, but having done this by hand, I often found a difficulty to actually limit the claim to its core. So sometimes it's a sentence, sometimes it's a paragraph. How did you do that?
Yes, I did not do it myself. We actually had we hired 5 annotators from the biomedical sciences to do this, but our instructions for them are to get as much as information as we need. So in that case, it could be a sentence. Sometimes it's a paragraph. Sometimes it's even shorter than a sentence. Sometimes it's a word. So the claim the length of it varies in our data set. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Chris Leonard from Cactus Communications. Thank you for the presentation. It is indeed an often overlooked element of the review process. But if I was trying to ascertain the healthiness, if you like, of a reference list right now, there are a couple of commercial tools that immediately spring to mind. Not that I have any connection with them, but let's say, for instance, there's one called Cite, which looks at the relevance of the cited text to the work and the cited work. Could you just speak a little bit about how your work is different to this? Because I was a little bit confused.
I think it's there are similarities. You mentioned the relevance, and that is actually some part of the things we were looking at is we were looking at whether a paper is or whether a citing statement is even relevant to the reference it cites. And so I kind of like simplified our the work I presented right now today, but when we were looking at errors, we were looking at different types of errors. So I presented earlier a contradicting error. We also have an error which we call irrelevant. So that I think that speaks to what we were saying about like some errors. Like there are you're looking at whether a statement is relevant to the paper. We have errors that are also what we call misquotes. So these are, let's say, a number was misquoted. One example we have is like 23% was misquoted as 32%. So yes.
Back microphone.
Joe Gass from Takeda Pharmaceuticals. So in the pharmaceutical industry, we often use professional medical writers that with medical communications agencies such as Cactus. And one of the things that we require is that a human medical writer annotate references. So we actually can see a highlighted or sometimes they cite, paragraph, page number, paragraph, line number. So it's almost like a legal, citation. So they also use other tools that I've seen, such as a claims matrix, where we have an Excel spreadsheet that says what's the nature of the claim, what's the citation. So they're professional medical writers are using tools like this. So based on that, would you consider in future research seeing if there's a difference with industry-sponsored publications to see if maybe there might be less. That's just to speculate that possibility. And second comment, just like, do you think that there's also, maybe you spoke to it in your last answer, a little bit of human error where someone says, oh, I'm citing Smith JAMA 2005, but it was actually in Smith JAMA 2006 because there was a prolific writer and it just sort of mixed up, the year that they're citing.
I'm gonna be honest, this is, I actually am not familiar with some industry tools that are also kind of similar to what we are doing. But I think it would be interesting to see kind of like how that differs from what we are doing.
Oh, I
If
should have mentioned.
if they're open to kind of like sharing what they have. And sorry, could you repeat your next question?
Oh, well, sorry, I should have just asked one at a time. So the second one was probably easier, just that, somebody might just think, oh, it was from something that a popular author did one year, but it was actually something they said the following year. But I guess and I wanted to point out another tool, EndNote, I know Clarita is here, is also very good for capturing and because you can tag, references and EndNote. But the thought was just if you would consider in future research, the possibility that industry sponsor publications, there might be fewer misquotes because we have humans annotating references.
I think that would be a good comparison to see if like they like how good it's how much better or is it better or how much better it is if there's like if there's a kind of another wall of people who are looking at it before it's like being published.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
One more question?
Yes, Mark Helfand from Portland, Oregon, and I really love any tool that's going to help us with this. I did raise my hand when you said who actually does this when they review. One reason for that is I review a lot of systematic reviews, and it seems to me a bad mistake to do bad citations when you're trying to be portray yourself as critical of a critical reading of literature. What I was going to ask about, again, you sort of said it's complicated what you called an error and what you were looking for. And so, but just to get at that, when I look at citations, they're very often like, a citation to another article that did say the same thing, but it cited some other article. And that said the same thing and cited some other article. And that you wouldn't call that an error, right? Or at least the engine wouldn't call it, the machine wouldn't call it an error. It's citing something that said the same thing, even though it's not a primary source. Just as an aside, David Eddy used to tell a story like that, where he textbook that said, digoxin, the starting dose of digoxin is whatever, 0.5, and traced back the citations to a study in, I think, 6 dogs in 1908 or something. But everybody just keeps perpetuating it. Is that an error, or is that like that would have passed?
We actually classified that as what we call a minor error. And I do think like some papers about citation quotation do classify those as errors. Some don't. So I think it's like it's a little gray area. But I think it's still like bad citing practice to cite a citation, because now if the original citation is incorrect, then there's this propagation of misinformation, and that's what we want to prevent.
Okay, one technical clarification, the numbers in the scaled up assessment do not correct for the sensitivity and specificity and accuracy that you found in the validation. Is that correct? It's just the 34% is just the row passage.
The 34% is yes, it's from the 100,000 citing articles.
But not corrected for diagnostic performance.
Not corrected yet. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much.